So in the last lecture, what we were talking about, we were discussing the concept of import, right? So concept of import, it is defined under section 2, subsection 23. This is here. The concept of import is defined under section 2, subsection 23. And it means bringing into India from a place outside India. So I was explaining you this concept. So concept of import. So in this concept, what was the first thing I talked about? Number one, goods shall originate from a place outside India. Right? Because the goods shall be brought to India from a place outside India. So goods shall originate from a place outside India. And this India, this is 200 nautical miles. It's okay, Harun. Okay. So first requirement for being considered as import is that goods shall originate from a place which is beyond 200 nautical miles from the baseline. And we had taken an example that anything which is produced or excavated or mined within this 200 nautical miles, that will not be considered as an import. So the first requirement is this, right? Now, import is not one particular event. Import is a long process. Number two, import begins. Import begins. Now, this word is very, very important. Import begins. I'm not saying what is import. I'm saying import begins because import is a process, right? And it can take days, it can take months, and in a given situation, it can take even years also to complete. So import begins when goods enter into Indian territorial waters. Import begins, right? When the duty is payable, at the time of beginning of import or at the time of conclusion of import? Logical question.
After filing of blueprint,
conclusion.
Towards
conclusion.
Towards the conclusion. Duty is not payable at this point of time, right? Because this is just the beginning. If the goods are not removed in DTA, what will happen? The goods coming into Indian territorial waters, those are not being unloaded in India, what will happen? Goods unloaded in India, but those are sent again outside India, then what will happen? I hope you can correlate the situation. One vessel is entering into Indian territorial waters carrying 2,000 containers, right? Out of the 2,000, say 500 containers are unloaded in India. 1,500 containers are not being unloaded. So whether that is an import or not. Import begin because those are also entering into Indian territorial waters. But that will not be concluded. So there the duty is payable only toward the end of the process. Import has begun here, right? But this is not the dutiable event. This is not dutiable. Import begins, right? Then import continues as long as goods are under the control of Customs Department. Import continues as long as goods are under the control of Customs Department. Right? When the goods are out of control of Customs Department. So goods get out of control only when applicable duty has been paid and out of customs order has been passed. When the goods are out of control.
After clearing for home consumption.
After clearing for home consumption. So when we say after clearing for home consumption, so I'm giving you more simplified words without using technical language. When the applicable duty has been paid. Right, applicable. Now applicable may be 0. So for payment of duty, there has to be assessment. For assessment, there has to be a filing of documents. All that we are going to discuss in detail later. Right now, when we say as long as goods are under the control of Customs Department, import process continues. So how long the process continues? How long goods are under the control of Customs Department? Until applicable duty has been paid. Number 1. Only by paying the duty, process is not complete and out of customs order has been passed. Okay, so import is complete only when, number 1, applicable duty has been paid, and number 2, out of customs order has been passed. Only then. Now this is called as crossing the custom barriers. This is referred, technically this is referred as crossing the custom barriers. So when the duty is payable, when goods cross the custom barriers. Customs barriers. Now see here, import begin when goods enter. But unless there is an event of crossing the custom barrier, there is no duty liability. Right? Now just imagine the same situation again, the example I gave you, that a vessel is entering with 2,000 containers. Right? Whether this requirement is fulfilled or not. This is done. Now, import begins when the goods enter into Indian territorial waters. So vessel is entering. Number 2, 2,000 containers are entering. So import has begun in relation to that vessel as well as for those 2,000 containers. Out of those, only 500 are unloaded. Right. So 500 will continue to be under the control of customs. Out of those 500, 300 are removed for home consumption. 200 are again loaded on some other vessel and sent out. Whether imported process is complete in that or not. Import process is not complete. There is no crossing of custom barriers. So out of the 500 containers which are unloaded, the 200 containers are being sent back through another vessel. Those are not subject to import duty. So a duty is payable on import only when goods cross the custom barrier. This is toward the end of the process. Right. Now, between entering into Indian territorial waters and crossing the custom barriers, how much time can be there? Just think of how much time can elapse. It may be 1 day, it may be 1 year, it may be more than that also. Right? How come it can be more than a year? If the goods after being unloaded, deposited in the warehouse permission is already there up to a period of 1 year. Extension can also be allowed by the commissioner. Right? So there can be the time gap between the goods entering into Indian territorial waters and goods crossing the custom barriers. We cannot fix a time limit. It may be 1 day, it may be 1 year, it may be more than a year as well. So that's why I say the process continues until the goods cross the custom barriers, and for crossing the custom barrier, the proper procedure has to be followed. Okay, is this concept clear to everyone? Okay, now this is a general position. Now, as far as Indian customs water is concerned, Indian custom waters is concerned, another name for this is
exclusive economic zone, free transit
economic zone. This is also free transit zone, right? What activities are permitted in this area and who can carry on the activity?
Citizens only fishing allowed.
That too, Indian citizens, not everyone.
Indian citizen fishing.
Right. So activities number 1, this is fishing. And anything, or we'll simply say other. For example, oil exploration, or maybe some mining. Fishing, this is generally allowed
To watch full video, join online batch weekdays 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Call Tail Institute.